So why do we care about instability? Well, when we're looking at the reasons that something matters, it's often a good idea to think about three main groups. Yeah? And the main groups you might be interested in are households, yeah, or consumers. That's people like you and me. Producers, or firms, and the government. So so the government itself. So why might each of these care if the prices of primary products are very volatile? Well, if we take the government first of all, then often these. Well, it depends on which country you're in, but in some countries, especially less economically developed ones, then often either the government owns sectors like this, or they employ a lot of people, and therefore they form an important part of the government's tax base. So if prices are suddenly going up and down, then that means that the government can then have very volatile tax revenue. Because sometimes producers are making good money, and sometimes they're not. And as a result of which, it's very difficult for the government to plan for the long term, to invest into health and for education. And it also means, linked to that, that GDP growth is likely to be very volatile as well. And hence that can create problems with unemployment, inequality in the country, it can affect your exports, and so on. So all of those things are reasons the government might care about inequalities. From the point of view of households, it affects you. It affects households in two main ways. It affects you as a worker. Obviously, if you work for a big kind of multinational that's processing these things, then if prices drop, then they might close down, or they might not need so many workers, or if it's a bad season and there's nothing to harvest. So it has a big effect. In the same way as it affects the government income, it can affect the incomes of households as well. So their incomes are volatile. It's also the case that you may be buying these things. If you're buying rice or kind of groundnuts and so on, which are important parts of the diet of lots of relatively poor countries, then what that also means is that there is price volatility for essentials. And what that can then do is damage living standards. Whereas if prices are more stable, then that's less of an issue. And finally, for producers themselves, if we think about for firms, obviously what we know is that volatile prices, they also lead to volatile profits. I mean, in extreme cases, the firm may have to close down. But what it does do is it creates uncertainty. And therefore, firms are less likely to invest in the future, because they're not sure what the prices are going to be. As a result of which, that's another reason the government might care. As a result of which, that kind of damages the overall long-term growth of the economy, because firms aren't investing in improving their production methods and so on and so forth. So for all those reasons, governments are interested, perhaps, in attempting to reduce agricultural price instability. And we'll have a look in a minute at how they might do that.